Hi, welcome to my garden. My name's John Beaudry. I'm a garden artist and landscape contractor and author of Garden Sanctuary, Designing for Comfort, Wholeness, and Connection. This is the third in a series of 4 videos about my book based on the first 3 chapters. Today we're talking about the fundamentals of design. Every discipline has its own language. If you're going to become a doctor, you need to learn a lot of medical terms. If you're going to become an accountant, you need to learn terms that have to do with accounting. And if you're going to go into design, you need to learn the language of design. The fundamentals of design are broken down into the elements and the principles of design. The elements are the things that you see out in the garden. Point, line, form, color, and texture. The principles of design are how we use point, line, form, color, and texture to create harmony, balance, rhythm, and those kinds of things. So today we're going to talk about the elements of design: point, line, form, color, and texture. It's April 26th. In San Diego, the roses have just come into bloom. Look at this one, this is amazing. I don't know the variety name, but it's beautiful orange, fading to this lighter pinker orange. You know, our gardens really are a place to restore ourselves. But anyway, on to point. So let's look at this patio right here and consider that the corner right here is one point, and this other corner is another point. Those 2 points connected together form a line, the line at the edge of the patio. We use line in the landscape to lead the eye and form spaces. So if you're drawing a plan, when we get to that part of the book, you're going to plot these points on your design and connect the dots to create the shape of the patio from a bird's eye view from looking up down into the garden. I happen to be standing in a circle of grass here that's broken up by a path and other things that cut into it. But it's the central area of the yard, and it leads over to this circular water feature, and the lines of the circle all create movement in a way through the garden. And if we pan around over this way over to the irises, you can see this path also goes out in a circular line through the garden over to another hidden patio back in the corner. So a line is used as a way to create movement through the garden, and it's also the boundary between the different spaces of the garden. Okay, now we're on to form. Form, in the book I have a picture of urns, and you can think of an urn as having a shape and taking up space. Let's look at some plants, a couple examples of that in the form of plants. So I've got an iris here in a pot, and a pelargonium, or a fancy-leaved geranium. The form of this iris is very upright and strap-like. The form of this geranium is rounded, mounded, neat and tight. So we use the forms to create contrast in texture and in and that's enough. You know, not only do we have a form here, but we have different textures. Okay, so next is color. Color is it's pretty obvious. We think of color as flowers as color in the garden, but plants can be color too, like as in the leaves of the succulent right here. It happens to be flowering right now, but the flowers are almost insignificant to the color, and the color is there year-round. Oftentimes plants with colorful leaves like this will become more intense in the winter and less intense in the summer. You can also use fall foliage in areas where we have temperate climates, when the plant leaves turn to riots of color in the fall. We can work with knowing that one plant's going to have yellow foliage in the fall and another one's going to have red, and combine them to create interest. And the last piece I want to talk about with the elements of design is texture. So texture, let's zoom in over here on this donkey tail sedum down here. That has a very fine texture with all those tiny little leaves. We can look towards toward these agaves over here, which have very bold leaves. As in this agave right here, this is what we call a coarse texture. The texture can be fine, medium, or coarse, and everything in between, of course. But when we combine different textures, again, we create interest in the garden. So in working with the garden, we're working with point. The point can be a focal point. There are many ways to use point. Line can be between a border between two areas. It can also be a way to create movement, as I said. And color, we look for that in flowers, foliage, and fall color, and also in the materials that we use in the garden. We don't want to introduce too many materials and too many different colors. So it's always a balance, and we're going to get into balance and all of those elements or the fundamentals. We're talking about the elements today. We're going to be talking about the principles in the next video, and the principles are how we use point, line, form, color, and texture. I'll talk about that in the next video. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day.